The reason we are saying so is that each time there is some rumpus in Washington about Africa, and the president of America is facing the prospect of having to renew the executive sanctions against Zimbabwe about this time of the year. You understand? A lot of excitement starts emanating from opposition circles in Zimbabwe. And I don't know whether I have the news, we have the news day today. You can see the opposition, Mr. Biti. Yeah. He is now starting to make comments about title deeds, about Zimbabwe. And yesterday we know for certain that they convened a meeting in South Africa, at the US Embassy in South Africa, all in an effort at trying to whip up emotions about title deeds and the land in Zimbabwe, so that somehow the oversight, which they believe is an oversight by Trump when he singled out and called out South Africa, it can be corrected so that Zimbabwe somehow must be found, in the words of the President of America. They just want Zimbabwe on the yoke. They just want Zimbabwe to become the attention of the American president, gratuitously and unnecessarily. Why? Because they believe that if America can do something about Zimbabwe, it can speed up the prospect of them getting to power, sneaking through the back door of foreign support rather than through the front door of electoral politics in Zimbabwe. So these are Zimbabweans who are trying to stir up a situation between Washington and Harare, when Washington, for reasons best known to itself and the American president, did not feel that there was an issue between Zimbabwe and Washington. So we have to put it on record. There are no parallels between the Zimbabwe land question and the South African land question. There isn't. And Mr. Biti, he should stop trying to be peevish. That's what is, this is like a child who always tries to cry when the aunt comes from town. And he knows that the aunt is coming in February because sanctions have got to be removed. So I must somehow get the attention of the American president. And they are also trying to galvanize the Zimbabwean farmers, white farmers, some of them, to become part of this bandwagon. They were being coaxed to go to South Africa and join this movement to say somehow Zimbabwe must be included in the bilateral dispute which is now broken out between Pretoria and Washington. No, we are a sovereign country, our issues are different, and we would like to keep our relations with America as best as they can be, even under the circumstances. And our sincere hope is that President Trump, who is going to be made to remember the executive order of sanctions against Zimbabwe, may actually be made to forget them when the day comes in March, this month, and the executive order is not renewed. This is the ball of contention. This is what's galling Biti. But it's not only him. This agitation also involves Xavier Kasukwere. He is part of this lobbying of the whites in Zimbabwe to try to become part of this nonsensical galvanizing of negative American policy on Zimbabwe. He is involved, Kasukwere, in these frantic efforts. We know because some of the Afrikaners who are engaged in that process, they are not happy at trying to drag the Zimbabwe issue into what is essentially a different problem in South Africa. You may want to recall that Afrikaners are Africans. They do have an affinity for the continent, which has been their home for the past 400 years. That's why they're called Afrikaners. And it is interesting that even when they were being offered to become refugees in America, saying, no, we are happy here. We may have our issues, but we are happy in Africa. So some of them have a lot of goodwill. And they are the ones who are saying to Zimbabwe, please, can you keep your dogs at home? We don't want them to come and spoil the issue in South Africa. So we have the inside information coming from those who are in the Afrikaners. And they have an anecdote. They say there are two major peoples of of Africa who fought modern wars against the British. The Afrikaners in the Boer War in 1900 to 1904, and they lost. And the Zimbabweans who fought in the 1960s and 70s, and they won. So we have had a common enemy before.